Wanted to talk about Achilles today and differences in Achilles tendonitis, Achilles tendinosis, possible other things that could cause pain in the Achilles area. So what we want to look at first, we're going to go ahead and throw on the muscles of the lower leg until we get the Achilles in there. Okay, so a couple just terms when people ever talk about Achilles tendonitis. A tendonitis is a short-term, usually under 6 months irritation. Tendinosis is when it turns to a long term, more chronic, more than 6 months. Usually with tendinosis, they get a lot more of that thickening. If you've had that Achilles pain where your Achilles is much thicker than the other leg, or you feel some kind of crunchiness in there, just chronic overtime inflammation that has not resolved. So with the Achilles, this right here is technically called your calcaneal tendon, or AKA Achilles. But if you can see, when I zoom in from the side, it is not made up of only one tendon, okay? Your soleus muscle comes down and feeds into it, and then your gastroc muscle comes down and feeds into it. And to show you that difference, this is your gastroc here, the kind of calf muscle that most people think of. This one crosses the knee joint, okay? So it helps to bend the leg. Your soleus does not cross the knee joint. It runs deep to your calcaneus, comes down, and they both blend together and they form your Achilles tendon. Now, the other thing that I want you to be aware of is there are different nerves in the area. So I'm going to throw on anything that you see as this yellow kind of ropey is going to be nerves. So when we are down here, I'm just going to zoom in a little farther here. So there's one that runs right underneath, called your tibial nerve. It can send this branch out to your heel, okay? It's your medial calcaneal branch of it. You don't have to remember any of this, but just realize that pain over here can feel like, oh, it's right where my Achilles inserts, but it can also be nerve irritation. Then let's look at the other side. This is your sural nerve. It comes down, and you can see a branch comes off of it. It's the lateral branch of it. So it can also give quite a bit of heel pain, irritation. Now, things to think about are nerves are basically the communication from brain to body part, right? So anywhere a nerve goes, the muscles that it innervates are going to be affected, okay? Now with this sural nerve, it comes off of the low back and it comes down and it does sensation to the side of the foot here, okay? If you can see when it's coming up a little higher, right there in the middle of the calf, okay? Now it doesn't innervate the calf, but it runs by it. So irritation here can also seem like a little bit of calf irritation. Other ones I want you to be aware of, these are also all part of sural nerve distribution. Okay, but I want to look at the tibial nerve here in a second. This is your saphenous nerve. It comes down and it goes more to the front side of the shin. But I'm going to take off the calf. I'm going to take off your gastroc because this right here, not that one. Let me take off one more layer. Here we go. If it will let me click on it. Here we go. Tibial nerve. Okay, so this tibial nerve is a branch off of your sciatic nerve, okay? The one that we think of that comes from the booty cheek and then stems right down the hamstring. When it comes down here, it branches into your tibial nerve, okay? So as you can see, it comes straight down, goes underneath the gastroc, sits right on top of soleus, comes down, and is real close to that Achilles. So sensations of tension does not always have to be only because of a muscle injury. So muscles tend to heal within 4 to 6 weeks. So we got to look at things down the road of why is something not resolved? Is it an overactive signal coming from a nerve that's keeping muscles irritated? Is that nerve irritated because of the muscles? However you want to look at it, what came first, chicken or the egg, we have to look at the nerves, okay? So that's why I always add nerve glides in for anything in this general area. So when I tend to address tender points, I hit on tibial nerve. I also, when I put back on that gastroc, right here in the middle where that sterile nerve is. So I get both, especially if I'm doing like a dry needle therapy. Wanted to look at that. Okay, the other thing with the Achilles, it does really well with load. So resting it tends to not be usually what makes the longest term change. It will decrease kind of some irritation in the short term, but loading it. So lots of exercises that have to do with using calf muscle, but making sure that you're getting gastroc and soleus. Okay, so that's just a general overview of the area. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. So other options for if we're just looking at Achilles, we got to pay attention to nerve, got to pay attention to everything else in the area.